Hey, what is up? Welcome to Dharma Time here on WPSN99.com. I'm your host, as always, the Dharma Guy, here with the Dope Doctor. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing quite well, actually, today.
Aww.
Thank you for asking.
Beautiful, lovely day.
Lovely
it's
day.
It's
not quite
lovely
as hot
day.
as it normally is. So
that
yeah.
song?
I think we're starting to get into what we would consider fall, maybe, here.
Man, we're in it. I love it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's
Even though I'm wearing a jacket right now.
yeah. And I looked. My arch nemesis already hit the AC, so I adjusted it before I came in here.
And I'll be able to take my jacket off. He was probably freezing in his room the way you had me freezing.
Anyways, dude, it's like I got it at 72. Like, really, it's not that bad. Anyways, I digress. So we're here today. We're gonna finish up our little 3-part series on Back to Basics.
Right.
Anything else you want to add? Like anything else that you want to throw out there that we're doing?
What? I mean, besides that, tomorrow is a holiday.
Is it tomorrow holiday?
Yeah, man.
What's
It's
your birthday, right?
yeah.
Okay, let's make sure I'm not missing like a. I know we just had Columbus Day.
Yeah,
or some people referring it to Indigenous Peoples Day.
That's a separate day. I mean,
Yes.
it's the same.
That it is.
It means two separate things.
That's
but
right.
how do you have Indigenous People Day and Columbus Day on the same day?
I don't know.
Seems like they'd be opposing.
Well, I think that's the point. I think the people don't want to call it Columbus Day because I think they're more focused on.
Okay.
You know where we're at, man. It's 2019. You know,
All right.
everything is wrong.
Indigenous People Day.
Everything from the past is wrong.
Yeah. Maybe Indigenous people should have learned how to, make a gun.
Yeah, defend themselves a little bit better.
No.
Anyways, so before we offend
Here comes
everybody,
the hate mail.
Exactly. Anyway, so before we get started on that, let me
Weren't we
go
all
ahead.
Indigenous people? That was one point.
Indigenous to something, I guess.
I mean, you didn't come out of the, with all this technology.
No. So, anyways, let's go ahead.
As I look at my iPhone.
Let's thank our wonderful sponsors before we go too far,
Right.
so we can keep the lights on and keep bringing this quality content to you guys every week. We have 3 different treatment facilities that we refer to not only as a foundation but as a radio station as well.
Right.
That's Retreat Behavioral Health, Journey Pure, and Gatehouse Treatment. All good facilities, although we are still looking forward to taking some wonderful pictures for you guys up at Gatehouse. We saw them down here, but we're also going to see their other facilities, so we're looking forward to that. We have Orange County Drug Free Coalition, which can we make the announcement now about the new head there? I mean, it's official, right?
It's official.
Mr. Dr. Tom Hall. Very, very excited to have him there. Dr. Tom Hall was worked with us for years. He's at UCF, or was at UCF. He's a part of our advisory council on the Now Matters More Foundation.
Right.
And he is now the head of the Drug Free Coalition in Orange County. So
it's awesome.
Looking forward to doing more work with him. And if there was anybody out there that I felt could potentially be a good replacement for Carol, it would be Tom.
Oh, he was number one at the top. I couldn't believe
he
it.
wasn't even on my radar, to be honest with you. I thought he was staying at I thought he was a lifer at UCF.
I didn't think they could afford him.
So very, very excited to see how that's moving forward. Matter of fact, we have a treatment committee meeting this Thursday, I believe.
Right.
So I think that's his first for his official.
Right.
I'm
going to be with him tomorrow. We're going to talk at DLE in front of a bunch of law enforcement.
Right on. And so that leads us to the next sponsor, of course, which is the Now Matters More Foundation. He is the founder. I'm the president. You can see more about what we do at nowmattersmore.org. You can check us out. You can also donate there. We can always use money. Or you can call at 833-NOW-MATTERS. That's 833-NOW-MATTERS. If you were in a crisis and you need some help when it comes to drug and alcohol issues, we are there to help. And then last but not least, we have Sports Subaru South. And they are having a Share the Love event from November 15th to December 31st. Where they, in conjunction with Subaru as a whole, will donate a total of $500 per car sold to the Now Matters More Foundation.
Right.
Very, very excited about that.
It's already here, man. It's coming.
It is, man. It's only like a few weeks away.
Hopefully we submitted everything. I think we submitted everything.
Yeah, I hope so, man.
We're supposed to. I feel like we submitted it over time. Over and over.
And then lastly, of course, you can follow us on social media, and that's at WPSN99, at the Dharma Guy, at the Dope Doctor, and at Now Matters More. Why not? Throw that in there as well. And then if you're listening to this on one of the podcasts, great. If you want to watch it and see our lovely faces, you can go to youtube.com/Dharma Time. I think that's all we got. That's everybody, right?
Dharma.
Yes, Dharma. And nobody, a lot of people don't know how to spell Dharma. I realize that.
Well, I mean,
D-H-A.
It's a really dumb way to spell it, to be honest with you.
I can't argue that.
I mean, who puts a H after a D?
Apparently Buddhism does.
Dharma. Is that how you really say it? Dharma?
I have no clue, man.
Well, how do you really say it?
I just say Dharma, but
Well, yeah, because we're Anglo.
and then they also some of them pronounce it as Dhamma. Like they take the arm out and put two M's. It's weird.
I don't know. Just an H after a D sounds like it should have Dharma.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, so for those of you who've been keeping up with our latest shows, we had Back to Basics, which was originally intended to be a one-time show, but as Simon pointed out, we had a lot of let's call it discussion, explanation, if you will, which I think is
Right.
called for, to be honest with you.
Right.
As a listener, hopefully you guys are entertained by it, but more importantly,
Educated.
I'm glad it's not just a one-sided affair. Like I like the questions, I like the back and forth, only because I think you're representative of the individuals who might approach this from a skeptic's point of view.
Even though Simon said I was arguing with you?
Yes, even though Simon says that.
But Simon says,
Simon
argue.
Says, he said generating content, so you get the game, bro. But anyways, my whole point, though, is...
Oh, is he back? Is he there?
Yeah, he's there.
What's up, Simon? How you doing, brother?
But my whole point, though, is just that I think that, spirituality sometimes can be a hard sell for some people.
You think?
And so I think that, I know for me, it was a hard sell for me. I thought spirituality was all worthless and didn't need it, because I also associated with religion. Like, to me, I thought spirituality, I thought religion, and I just wasn't into that.
Right.
And so a lot of times when I've had to help people,
Right.
they didn't come to me for spirituality. They were there for something else, and I'm telling them spirituality might be the answer for them.
Right.
And so it's kind of a hard sell. And in being a hard sell, when I'm trying to explain to them the foundation, if you will, the 12 keys to the spirituality, they would have concerns, they would have questions, they would have rebuttals, they would have arguments, they would have but what ifs.
Yeah.
And part of my duty there was to address those what ifs in a way that helps them further believe that this might be the answer for them. Because at the end of the day, to be honest with you, early on when I was a child, that's why I left religion. It just no longer answered my questions. And when I went to the pastor, some of the things he said to me just kind of further, reiterated to me that this just isn't for me. Yeah. Not that I'm blaming him, but I think that he could have answered them differently. That might have.
He lost one. He
did, absolutely.
Sometimes you just can't get all the sheep. Sometimes
that's right.
little
Sometimes
animal gets through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to make that same mistake. That's why I do my best to try to okay, well, let me address those concerns.
Yeah.
Let me try to explain it to you in a way that's going to help you, because at the end of the day, that's what I view my job is as a vessel to help you find your happiness and
Right.
whatnot. So all that.
Well, that's what they think. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking at a school. We just looked at that website. I'm speaking at a school. We're not going to say the name of the school. In November, and it's a faith-based school.
Yeah.
It says it right there.
Yeah.
So I think every faith tries to push that. Listen, this will help you along the way, and who are we to say it doesn't?
Exactly. But anyways, so I like the back and forth, especially when it comes to this particular subject matter, because what would bother me is if you just sat there and just agreed with everything and said okay, and didn't give me the opportunity to maybe re-explain something in a different way. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a listener out there who begrudgingly started to watch because maybe they're dealing with something, they're going through something, and they're thinking, okay, well, maybe this could be the answer. Let me give them, a shot. And then all they hear is a bunch of yes men agreeing with one another. Maybe they have questions or concerns that they're like, well, this sounds like bullshit. What about this?
Yeah.
And then it never gets addressed. They never reach out to me, and they walk away thinking, that stuff doesn't work. I watched the video one time.
Yeah. We all just sit here in lotus position.
Yeah. And not that I feel that I speak for this particular community as a whole, but I do feel that I'm somewhat representative at the moment. Right. And so I want to do it the best way I can.
Well, for this hour you are.
Exactly. So, anyways, I digress. Back to our original point. So to rehash very quickly, and this is the wrap-up show, by the way. I cannot imagine we won't get through all 12, considering the fact we only have 2 more. So I think in this hour we should be able to get through the last 2.
We shall see.
I can't imagine not being able to. Anyways, so for the first 4, to reiterate those for those of you who did not watch the first 2, which you can catch on YouTube. The first one is pain is a part of life. That's the first 4 are called the noble truths, and those are just things that we're going to have to wrap our heads around in the sense of these are true. And that is, the first one is pain is a part of life. So once again, we define pain as anything you deem is unsatisfactory. That's a sliding scale.
That's
exactly. It could be something simple and silly, like I got stopped at this red light today, or something all the way to this end of the spectrum, and I'm losing $100,000 today.
Yeah, like my drink is empty.
Yeah.
So that's unsatisfactory.
Exactly. So pain is anything within that, and pain is a part of life. In other words, if you're a human being and you're living this life, something painful is going to take place today. It's just a matter of when, not if, and to what degree.
Yep.
Basically. And that's usually relatively universal. Most people agree to that when they hear it. Second one is you cause your own suffering through your aversion to the bad and your clinging to the good. So this incessant need that we have to have our lives filled with exclusively pleasure at all times causes us to suffer because, well, you just can't do that. For the most part, people agree with that. There's a few out there who have some semantic arguments that they like to make.
You can go to the first one to find out what I said about it.
And then the third truth is my favorite still to this day, and that is you don't have to suffer. There is another way. There is another path that you can take that leads you away from suffering, not to it.
Yeah.
And that to me, still to this day, which is amazing to me, it's been I don't know how many years since I've adopted this as a philosophy in my life. And it still is like, it still gives me goosebumps, like thinking about it. It is still the most liberating thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and that is you don't have to suffer.
Unless you're the one out there right now driving that Pinto with the muffler like tied, with the iron hanger, you do have to suffer. For you, this doesn't apply to you.
It sucks for you.
I'm just talking to that one guy. He knows who he is.
Right. But anyways, and then the fourth one, of course, was the way, and that is the skills that we use to achieve the cessation of suffering. So that's the first four truths. Those are the first four things we kind of have to wrap our heads around to kind of progress, if you will, on the 12 keys of spirituality. And then the next one is commonly referred to in the Buddhism world as the eightfold path. Like folding laundry, eightfold path.
Every time you say that, I just think about those girls in elementary school, when they would give you notes.
Those little things we do.
Just the note, just the way they folded notes.
Gotcha.
And I never could fold it back the way they folded it. Like the one that says, "Do you like me? Like me? A, do you like me? B, do you really like me?"
Little flower things, whatever.
And
my daughter had one of those the other day.
Man,
I was impressed because I still can't make that.
There's no way I can fold that back the way you gave it to me.
Dude,
I was like trying to refold a map correctly.
I was just about to say that. When I was up in Tennessee, quick side note here. When I was up in Tennessee, we went to the Cades Loop, and they gave me a map.
Yeah.
I pulled out the map, and I was like, okay, here we are. And I tried to fold. I had no I couldn't do it.
No.
I felt so stupid. I could not refold this stupid map the way he gave it to me.
Yeah.
So, anyways. All right, so the eightfold path are the 8 skills that we develop within ourselves that help us achieve the cessation of suffering, a.k.a. happiness, whatever you want to call it. And they're 8 skills that you don't work on in sequential order. You work on them, all at the same time, essentially.
Right.
And what you'll notice is some of them you're probably really good at. Other ones, not so much.
I'm awesome at them.
And to run through those briefly, the first one is right understanding. I typically break that down into 2 major components. And once again, if you guys want the descriptive versions, go back and watch part 1 and part 2, because if I don't, we will never make it through this. So the first one was right understanding. It's typically, understanding the 4 truths and understanding how our brains are going to deem things positive, negative, neutral, whether we intend to or not.
Right.
The second one is called right intention. And that's basically stopping coming from anger, greed, lust, fear, things of that nature, and start coming from love, compassion, generosity, kindness. Right. Then you have the third one, which is right speech. Very simply, whatever you speak or communicate is supposed to be truthful and useful.
Yeah, so shut up.
And then number 4 would be right action, and that is your actions have to line up with that philosophy. Otherwise, it's not enough to talk about and think about the right stuff. You actually have to do it.
You can do it.
Number 5, of course, was right livelihood, and that is whatever you do for a living should not contribute to the harm or suffering of yourself or anybody else, a.k.a. don't be a dick for a living.
Yeah, man.
Number 6 was right effort. I think that's actually that's not where we left off. Number 6 was right effort, and that is making sure you put forth the right amount of effort, not so much that you run yourself ragged, and not so little that you end up not doing anything at all about it.
Half measures availed us nothing.
Yes.
Sound familiar?
Yes. And then I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So we are now on number 11. We have 2 more.
All right. Let's do it.
This is
I'm ready.
For the Eightfold Path, this is number 7.
I like
8.
that I didn't study for it, so I have no clue what you're about to say.
Sure. So let's just jump right into it, because this next one's actually pretty big, actually. Out of the last 2, the last one is kind of just like a house cleaning thing. It's kind of simple. But number 11 is kind of a big deal.
Okay.
And I think the reason why I'm glad we're doing a whole show is because it'll give us plenty of time to go into this a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think we both are going to have opinions on it and ways of doing it. And it's kind of a mysterious one as well.
By the way, I'm hungry right now. Squirrel.
I'm definitely hungry. Thankfully, my mother's bringing us food here in a little bit. So.
Thanks, Mom.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and once again read this lovely written word that I had prepared for years ago.
Okay.
So number 11, or in this case for the Eightfold Path, is number 7, if you're keeping track. Without mindfulness, this path of spiritual fulfillment would be next to impossible. As humans, we have become extremely vigilant when it pertains to the physical world around us, but not so much in the area of feeling tone. That is, do we deem our current experience as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Oftentimes, we have unknowingly placed a situation into a category of unpleasantness and respond accordingly with a need to fight those feelings. Without first being mindful of how and why we are perceiving a specific situation as positive, negative, or neutral, we can never then choose to handle it in the most skillful way and are destined to stay in the same old habitual responses that led us to suffer. To be mindful is to be in the present moment and having a complete present time awareness. All right, so mindfulness.
Right.
Matter of fact, wasn't that? I think that was my talk in Orange County, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, mindfulness is like a buzzword these days, right? And I think
it became a thing.
Yeah, you brought that to my attention. I guess in the counseling world, it's like all over the place.
It became a thing.
There's a lot of like new age type people out there who are professing it. Like,
Wait, don't say new age.
I'm going to put that out there.
Wait, no, New Age is different. You know,
it's everywhere. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, but New Age, I think crystals.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
yeah, they're using it too.
Oh well, maybe they're using it too. But don't throw my therapeutic community in there with the crystals, because those are 2 separate communities.
Well, my point is,
I'm not attacking the crystals, but it's separate community.
Sure. My point though is that it's everywhere now, and I don't think, as I mentioned in my little talk out there, which is also on YouTube, I did put it up there actually. Yeah. Is that when it comes to mindfulness, I don't think a lot of people remember that mindfulness is kind of like copyrighted by the Buddhist tradition. It's been around for over 3,000 years. It was originally.
It'd be funny if it actually was.
Right. But it was actually a smaller piece to a bigger puzzle. Like mindfulness in and of itself is great, but it's not a means to an end. It's just a piece to a puzzle. If you don't have all the other things that come along with it, mindfulness is just being aware of stuff. It's not really helping you.
Mindfulness was nothing until therapists marketed it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it just wasn't being used.
Sure.
So, people weren't.
All the millions of people who have used it in
that was irrelevant.
Don't count.
They didn't count at all. Yeah. Not one time did they copyright it, and they should have. Because it's a great thing to use.
Well, and the problem though with mindfulness, I think that's, when I say mindfulness, at least the responses that I typically get usually revolve around physical. Meaning, I'm mindful that, there's lights above us and we're in a studio, we're in New Smyrna. Like, yeah, this is where we're at. I'm talking to you and we're here. Like, that's where people typically seem to focus their attention on. The ones I've interacted with that I've had to help illustrate this with. The thing that we're not so good at, usually, is, as I said in the writing, was the feeling tone. Like, have I deemed this positive, negative, or neutral? That's the thing that we're not so good at sometimes. We're good at saying I'm angry at the moment, but we're not so good at understanding why I'm angry and what it was that triggered that anger.
I don't think we're good at knowing when our cup is already full, and then you go into a conversation with your cup ready to floweth over.
Yes.
And then that person does one thing, adds one little drop to your cup, and you blame them completely for your cup runnething over.
Yes.
I don't think we're mindful to that. And we say, well, you pissed me off. But it's like, well, wait a minute. You kind of walked into this situation already pissed off.
And not only that,
and if you have teenagers, you see that all the time.
Of course.
They come to you already, what? I mean, I'm just asking you to throw the trash, but you already came to me as if I'm going to give you this huge ordeal.
Sure. Well, and it's not even just that. I'm going to take it to a step further and say that a lot of times, And I'm guilty of this. And if you're honest with yourself, I'm pretty sure you'd agree with that. And I think everybody else, if you're honest with yourself,
I do like self-manipulation.
and
So
that
we'll
would be,
see.
we're not always aware of what triggered us and why. We just know that pissed me off, but we can't tell you why that particular thing. In other words, anger is not universal. The one thing that it makes you angry might not make the other person angry.
Right.
So what about that specific thing touched your button in particular?
Right.
I think that is where a lot of times we're not aware. We're not mindful of what that was, what that triggered inside of me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Some people's presence.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was doing a lot of. I can't use the word bad on Dharma Time.
Sure you can.
No, you always correct me. So what's the other word I can use?
Unskillful?
No, that doesn't fit for the sentence. But when I was doing things that were not appreciated by my parents when I was younger, were not appreciated by my mom.
When you were acting out?
When I was acting out. There you go. When I was acting out, my mom would just pull up into the driveway, and her presence alone made me claustrophobic. Because I just had to go because I knew
you were getting ready in trouble.
Yeah, what are you doing? Where are you going? How are you? Even hello or what are you doing was
Right.
like, what do you mean? What am I doing?
Sure.
Everything was defensive. Like, where are you gonna go? With my friends. What do you think I'm gonna go? You think I'm gonna go?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Everything was like some sort of dramatic.
And you probably thought it was a her thing.
100% thought it was
but
her
it was a you
thing.
thing, you know?
It was yeah.
And that's what I mean is
That's part of the mindfulness that I needed to understand as well.
Well, that is mindfulness in general. Like
that I put an association with people
Yeah.
and with things, and I always thought I knew what you were going to say. Therefore, I use that as an excuse for not telling you in the first place because I knew what you were going to say already.
Like
Oh, crap.
I see, on my feed on my social media all the time.
Yeah.
There's people who are just obliterating like past relationships or whatever. It's like, hold up.
Exes always suck. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
No one ever says, I had the best ex. I sucked.
Yeah.
You know the only people doing that? People in recovery.
Yeah, because they've had to take them in.
Yeah.
But that's my point is this self-awareness, this mindfulness of, okay, this is who I am. This is how I respond.
Mm-hmm.
This is my skillful response. This is my unskillful response.
Right.
This is what I need to work on. Like that mindfulness, I think, is what really kind of sets that. That's why I say you don't work on 1, 2, 3. You work on them all, because without mindfulness, all the other ones are hard to do.
Right.
You got to be mindful of, like, for instance, right speech. You got to say to yourself, I'm getting ready to say this to this person, but why? Why do I feel the need to say this? Is it coming from a place of love and compassion, or is it coming from a place of insecurity and frustration and anger? Like, you've got to be mindful of that. And I think to an extent we have it, we just ignore it. Because I know with the kids, right? How many times have your kids tried to tell you, I was just doing such I know exactly what you're doing. Like, no, you weren't. I know you're telling me that's what you were doing, but we both know deep down inside you had other thoughts.
That's when I get, okay, Dad.
But my favorite part, though, is when my kids look at me like, how the hell did you know that? That's my favorite part.
Mine will never admit it.
Well, as they get older, they're less than that.
No, in my family you raised it like never admit it. Never. You go down with the ship, bro.
Sure.
Didn't do it. You could have it in your hand. I don't know.
But that's my favorite part, is that look that they give you. That look of like, is he in my head right now? How does he know that? No. It's because I'm not an idiot, man. I know people. You know
how I know they get it, but they don't get it in front of me ever? In my birthday cards, my Father's Day card, because then they'll say it. They'll say things within those cards. They'll say things in those cards that show you that I was right, but they never will ever.
Right. Yeah.
Ever out themselves.
Which
is fine. Don't out yourself. Right. You might need that skill.
Well,
as long as you know it.
When it comes to mindfulness, there's like multiple different levels of that, but the ones I typically focus the most on is just the feeling tones of the situation.
Right.
And have I deemed something positive, negative, and neutral without even knowing it? Because I think a lot of times it happens in such a split second type thing. Like it's called dependent origination, right? Meaning,
what was that second word?
Dependent origination. And all that really basically means is nothing like is. It just it starts as something and ends as something else, like cause and effect type deal. And so that process happens literally like thousands and thousands of times a day,
right,
in seconds. Like nobody just puts on a shirt because I just randomly put on a shirt. Your brain goes through a process of, oh, I need to put a shirt on. What do I have available to me? I like that shirt for what I put it on. Like, it's a process. It happens so quickly that, it's a micro decision.
That's why you should go to people and says, that was your decision today?
Exactly.
That's the best you can do?
And so whenever in a conversation or whatever, and something happens, you're going to immediately decide, I like that, I didn't like that, or I don't really care. Yeah. And then your responses are all going to be dictated based upon what your original decision was, is if I like it or don't like it. But if you're not aware, then you can very easily say, like you said, oh, that person pissed me off. No, that person said something. You're getting angry right now because it touched your button. You've got an insecurity. You've got a soft spot. They touched it, and now you're responding to that touching of the soft spot. Yep. What they said wasn't really that bad. What they said was literally just, if we're going to be technically here, was just vibrations coming out of their mouth. Like, you're the one who interpreted that a certain way. You're the one who put meaning to it. You're the one who personalized it. Now you're upset.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that we're not accountable for the things that we say to one another, but once again, that same person could say that same thing to 30 different people, but you're the one that got upset.
Right.
So what was it about that got you upset in particular? And that's what we need to work on. As you like to say, we need to make our buttons smaller.
That's right.
And so without mindfulness, good luck.
Yeah, that's why with the kids, I tend to discuss this, or how I did it. I mean, they're older now, but I still talk about it sometimes. It's insightful. I use the word insightful more than I use mindful.
Yeah.
And I always say that you have to have that third eye,
right,
like in the middle, because everybody has it. Everybody has that third eye. Everybody has that sense of awareness, and what you want to do in order to be successful in all your relationships, especially the one with yourself, is at least admit it to yourself.
Yeah.
You can lie to the entire world, and we'll deal with those complexities as they arise. However, if you do not admit to yourself, that becomes so problematic.
Yes.
That you become so lost that it's hard to come back if you don't know where you're at. You have to at least know you're lying to you.
Well, and that's one of the things I actually say to people when I say in mindfulness, and even in intent, is, you don't. I recommend finding a trusted confidant that you can, confide into and get good advice. But you don't have to. But you have to say to yourself, though, like, you have to be honest with you. You have to have that acknowledge. Don't mute that little voice inside of you that's telling you how you really feel. That's why one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to my kids is anytime I ask them, why or whatever, their answer, I don't know. You're the only one that does know, dude. Yeah. Like, you're the only one. You're because my 15-year-old, we used to have these conversations sometimes, and there would be moments where she'll say that, and I'll stop her. I was like, oh, hold on. Yes, you do. What was the first thing that popped in your head? Well, don't not say it because you're afraid to say it.
Right.
Just whatever it was that immediately popped in. That's the answer. And then I'll finally kind of pull it out of her, and then that gives me something to work with, and we go from there. But I don't know. Yes, you do.
Right.
But that's the thing, is I do believe that we as adults, it's just easier, right? It's just it's easier. What we think it's easier just to ignore it and be like, I don't know why this is happening. They're doing this.
Here's the sad thing. As I get older, Trinity, I got to be honest with you. My memory is gone. Right. As I get older, so now my conversations with Dana have changed a little bit. And now when I say I don't know, like it used to be, I don't know,
of course.
Now I'm serious.
Yeah, no.
So she'll be like, yeah, you do. I'm like, actually, I don't.
I don't remember is different than I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know is different.
I don't know what I said. You know what I mean? It's like so weird that I'm not able to grab certain things. So,
but no, I mean, so mindfulness is of paramount importance in all this. It really truly is. There was, even in my own life, man, when I'm going through things, sometimes I have to stop my knee-jerk reaction to things. Like I can feel myself. I mean, I just had an incident the other day. the guy, there was an incident the other day, and I actually even posted about it on social media.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you did.
He pissed me off, man.
I didn't know you posted it, though.
Yeah. No, I made a Yelp review, and then I posted that Yelp review and tagged everybody. I went off. So there was an incident where I took my mother to go get a phone. Yeah. She, her phone was messing up for a while now, and I told her we'll wait till the new ones come out, and that's when all the deals will start happening. So we went to this place to get her phone. We walked in, and there's already like stress circling in our lives at the moment. So, but I was mindful. Like anybody who's in my personal circle knows, I've been quite open about I'm dealing with some stuff right now, and some of it I'm dealing with skillfully, and some of it not so much. And so we walked in this place, and the second this guy started talking to us, I could tell like this could go either way, right? He walked in, he walked up, had arrogance just exuding from him. Now, when it comes to salesmanship, arrogance doesn't bother me. Like, it's not a triggering thing for me. Like, I have my own bouts of arrogance as well, so I can work with that. Not a big deal.
Right.
And so the initial one, it wasn't a really big deal. We were going through it. Everything was kind of kosher. It was a little uncomfortable, but I can work with that. It doesn't bother me, but I can see how somebody else would be offended.
Right.
The problem didn't happen until he walked up and tried to sell my mother on a bunch of useless crap that she didn't need.
He was upselling her.
Very much so.
Right. All the side stuff.
Yes. And so he came to her with a bunch of side stuff, which, my mom's retired. She's on a fixed budget. And so it's my job to just make sure that she doesn't get taken advantage of.
Right.
And not to say that if she would have gotten,
I think she can handle herself, though.
Yeah, but she doesn't. She's not up to like the latest trends and what can be purchased online for cheaper, things of that nature.
I gotcha.
And so it's my job to be like, no, you don't really need that. This one we could get for way cheaper over here. Blah blah blah.
Right.
And so I basically just disagreed with this gentleman.
Yeah.
And said, okay, well, I understand what you're trying to do. This is your job. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I disagree with the value that you're asserting. Like, you're telling me this is a major valuable thing and blah blah blah. I just disagree. That's just an assessment we made together.
Right.
I disagree. No big deal. Well, he decided to get defensive. Mm-hmm. And so I think...
Well, you're taking money out of his pocket.
Well, and that's where the mindfulness comes in, right? Like, for him, he needed to be mindful at that moment that he was getting defensive and aggressive because I'm basically, in his mind, trashing what he does for a living. Like, I'm taking money out of your pocket and I'm trashing your assessment of the value here.
Right.
I was mindful already, knowing that I'm already kind of like a loaded gun at the moment. I'm already a little irritated. There's been a lot of stuff happening. It was like 3 or 4 days where just Murphy's Law. What could go wrong will go wrong. And so in that particular moment, I was trying to be mindful of, okay, I can see the situation could go very bad very quickly.
Right.
So I even tried to tell this gentleman at the time, I said, hey, not a big deal, bro. I get what you're trying to do. It's just not going to work here. Like, it's no big deal. We've already liked the phone. Let's just kind of move on and handle our thing. And he just kept going back and forth. I finally was like, hey, why are you being aggressive? Like, this feels like it's an argumentative situation at the moment, man. Like, I'm not cool with this. And then he kept going, and that's when I finally, I was like, all right, dude, don't fuck up a sale here. And then he got triggered, I guess, because he's never heard a cuss word before in his life. And things kind of started to progress a little bit. But my whole point in this entire scenario is, had I not been mindful of what was actually happening and what I was deeming positive, negative, or neutral, like the 10 years ago me probably would have punched the dude in his throat. Yeah. It would have ended very badly because this little punk trying to talk to me like, what, man? Like, what universe do you think you could talk to me this way, son?
in 2019, where you're allowed to say anything you want, and what are you going to do about it?
I would have hit him, and things would have gone horrible for him. Wow. But my whole point was, I was mindful of...
He probably went online and just laughed at everybody how much he showed you up.
Yeah. Well, I was mindful of him.
He shut you up, didn't he?
Yeah, obviously not. I was mindful of him and where he was coming from and why he was responding the way he was responding,
right?
Which helped me not take it personal. Like, it wasn't a personal thing. It's just it's where, and I get it, dude. Like, that's how you make your money. Like, I totally understand. But my thing was, understand when you've been beaten. Like, just don't mess up the sale.
Not gonna buy it, man.
Yeah,
just stop.
Just stop. Like, I've told him literally. I said, dude, it's not gonna work. Don't worry. It's just
stop.
We've already picked the phone out. We're literally in the process of buying it. Just shut up.
So many people just don't stop.
Yeah, take the win. Take the W. You got the sale.
Yeah.
But I was also mindful of myself and realizing that my internal aggression was rising, not necessarily just because of him. Mm-hmm. It was, I'm already walked around like a loaded gun because I've got a lot of issues that are just kind of irritating me.
Right.
And then he's just adding to it. So I was very mindful of not wanting to take it out on him.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to jail that day. I didn't want to end somebody's life that day over some insignificant thing. And so, to me, that is where spiritual practice comes into play.
Right.
That spiritual practice is what enabled me to kind of take a step back and be mindful of, okay, what's actually happening here? Because it's very easy, if you don't use mindfulness, to get caught up in the emotions of the situation,
right? And
be like, this dude's trying me right now. What? Who? And go at it. When that's not what was happening. What was happening was he was being, upset about feeling like inadequate or feeling like somebody's questioning his salesmanship or his value that he's bringing in. I was already dealing with stuff, upset with somebody just adding to the fuel to the fire kind of thing. But because of that mindfulness, I was able to take a step back And at that point, I was like, whatever. I just got quiet. I let my mom finish what she had to do. And I said not a word from that point because I knew if I would have kept going, it's going to get out of hand very quickly.
But how were you looking at him?
How am I looking at him?
How were you looking at him after you stopped talking?
He didn't exist to me at that point.
So you didn't even look at him?
No. No. As I was leaving, he was trying to shake my hand. I was like, I'm not touching you, bro. Because if I would have touched him, I would have hurt him.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyways.
I still think you should have crushed his hand, but then, that's
I know.
That's just me.
Oh, there's a huge part of me that agrees with you. But my point, though, in all that is just that mindfulness is key. It really is. Without mindfulness, it's very difficult to do any of these other keys of spirituality and live that life of peace, if you will. Because in that situation, what enabled me to handle it skillfully, what enabled me to continue on and have like my internal peace at that point was, I didn't allow myself to get caught up in it and do something that I'm going to regret in a couple minutes.
He's the guy that goes and pets the alligator.
Yes.
He's the guy that goes, isn't that a pretty little snake?
Yeah, then he gets bit.
Hey, little snake. Yeah. Yellow and black and yellow, kill a fellow.
Wow.
Red and yellow. Nice. Is it red and yellow, kill a fellow?
Sure.
Red and black, friend of Jack.
Well,
he didn't realize you were red and yellow.
Yes, I was ready. But actually, it's actually a perfect segue into number 12, which is the last one of the Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and read this and get it out there, then we can kind of finish the wrap up here.
Okay.
Number 12 is, finally, we come to the need to increase our ability to focus on one thing at a time without distraction. That is, shutting out all of the constant noise our brains are filled with. We are always taking things personally, thinking of the potential futures, or struggling over our past. Meditation is proven to be the best way of ensuring you're in the present moment and maintaining a focused attention. Meditation is an act not to be confused with a skill to be good or bad at. Meditation is but a practice for those situations we encounter that overwhelm us and cause us to respond impulsively. With a mind trained through meditation, we can more skillfully navigate those very same situations and choose a well-intended response rather than react with intentions that create more suffering for ourselves and everyone else. So,
just breathe.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, the last one is essentially talking about meditation. It's right focus, right concentration.
Right.
But it's the ability to shut out all the noise and pay attention to one thing, right? And so the couple things I like to clear up when it comes to meditation.
Okay.
Number one, a lot of people will come to me and say, I've tried that, it doesn't work. Okay. So there's literally like...
Or I suck at it.
Yeah, those are the two things. So the first one, it doesn't work. There's literally thousands of different types of meditation,
and they all come and tell you what they are, because I'm around you all the time. Everybody that comes to you that understands anything about meditation always throws a word at you.
Yes. And so if you haven't tried every single meditation that's out there, you are not qualified to say they don't work.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, I'm not good at it. Right. Okay, that's like saying I'm not good at breathing. Either you do or you don't.
I kind of suck at breathing sometimes.
Well, you're alive, so you're pretty good at it. So,
well, luckily, because I don't have to do it. Exactly. It's when I get involved that I screw it up.
My thing with the meditation is people say I suck at it. Yeah. It's not. You don't suck at it. You either do it or you don't. There is no good or bad. Like, there's no expert meditator out there that's just either a person who's done it for a long time or a person who doesn't.
That sounds like you should say it with an accent. You either do it or you don't.
Exactly. Be like water, my friend.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and this is something I always used to get a laugh at, but it's actually true, nobody cares if you're a great meditator. Like, nobody gives a shit. None of your friends are going to be like, oh my God, you're so... Nobody cares, right? Meditation isn't something to brag on. All meditation truly is, and this is how I boil it down, is practice. That's it.
To be honest with you, nobody cares about anything, so it's like...
Meditation is just practice, man. That's all it is.
That's it.
It's all it is.
It's true.
So... meditation, you start out, maybe you make it 3 seconds into it, and you're already worrying about what, if you left your iron on, or what's for dinner tonight, or whatever. That's fine. Gently acknowledge that, okay, I've gotten off track, and bring yourself back to the present moment. Usually people start with breathing, because we all do it all the time. And at first it might be 3 seconds.
Right.
Then it might be 12 seconds. And next thing you know, 6 years later, you're doing it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. The point is, our brains are like crazy wild monkeys going from the future to the past, just swinging all over the place. And your job is, through meditation, is to practice the skill of bringing your attention to where you want it to be.
Right.
So, for instance, in that situation that I was in with the phone with my mother,
Right.
it would have been very easy for me to get caught up on all the noise in a narrative of who's this kid think he is.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's talking this way. I'm going to stomp him out, blah, blah, blah. I could have gotten into that mindset and just ran with it. But instead,
You
I was
went
able
and walked in a meadow,
to... No, I didn't do that.
play with the flowers.
I was able to focus on what was at hand.
Yeah.
I'm getting irritated at the moment. This is why. I don't need to. This is where he's coming from. I was able to calm down, handle the situation where I needed to handle it, and get out without, going to jail. And
smell the jail. What does the jail smell like?
Exactly.
You smell the...
Do you feel that going through there? Yeah.
The texture of the bologna.
Exactly.
Feel the texture of the bologna
Yes.
going in your mouth.
And
This is lunch.
yes.
Every day.
And that guy looking at the corner
Every day.
does not mean you good things.
You're sitting on the porcelain. This is
It's not
what...
porcelain, it's
That's
steel.
right, it's steel. If you're sitting on the steel, these are the people
And
that
it's
are
still
watching
in front
you.
of everybody.
They're watching you.
It's like 8 people looking at you. Anyways, I digress. My point is, when it comes to the meditation, that's really all it is, man.
That's it.
All meditation is practice for the big game. There's going to be a moment in your life where you're going to be presented with an opportunity
You're going to need it.
to respond or react. And your choice should always be respond, even though a lot of times we react. And when you react, you're coming from an emotional standpoint. You're coming from wherever you deemed it as positive, negative, neutral, and it's not always going to be the most skillful response. To whereas if you respond, the implication there is you've taken time to ingest what's happening, think about the best option there, and then that's what you've done. What's going to enable you to do that is the ability to calm down, shut out all the noise of the he said, she said, and well, this is how I feel, this is how they feel, this is what should be. You shut all that out and focus in on the truth of the situation
That's it.
and what I want to do. That is what meditation is.
So basically today, mindfulness and meditation.
Those are the last two
Right.
of mindfulness and meditation.
Right.
Those are the last two of the skills that we need to develop.
Right.
And so those two, in conjunction with everything else we've covered over the last 2 shows,
Right.
is your blueprint to find internal peace and happiness. That's the blueprint. That's how we find it.
I kind of like your blueprint. It's kind of simple.
It's simple, but it's not easy.
It's kind of simple. I mean, I think that, when you have a level of insight where you actually are honest with yourself about how you're going into a situation, then even though you said good morning, you can realize that you didn't just say good morning. I think that's important.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people out there that think all I said was good morning, but they go good morning,
Yeah.
but all they remember is that they said good morning.
Right.
They don't realize the tone that they use.
Right.
They don't realize their body language. They don't realize that they didn't. They came off aggressive.
Yeah. The intent. That was behind it.
Exactly. There was. In other words, they wanted you to know I'm still mad at you from last night. They don't
Right.
realize. Okay, now you're bringing that in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it
Let
go.
it go.
And if they would just let it go, then it gives everyone the best opportunity to move forward onto the new day or the new moment.
Yeah.
Blissfully. But instead, people like to carry shit on.
Yes. Well, my favorite one is when they say it's hard to let it go. And I say, well, isn't it harder to carry it and have it affect everything all day, every day?
It's heavy.
Yeah, like put the anchor down.
No, it's harder to carry it and not smack you upside the head with it. That's
Right.
what's hard.
Right.
To me, it's a lot easier to let go, to be honest with you. Because if
We're
I
on-
let go, then I don't have to worry about, that I have to prevent myself from like popping off because I
Right.
I'm very reactionary.
Sure.
So I want to,
That's that Latino.
I want to
fire
just,
in your blood.
I want to react. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's better to just forget what we even talked about.
Right.
So I have this like protective mechanism, much
Sure.
like a kid that was abused. Where like there's nothing in my memory. Or I'll have to go to like
Dory. Like every
yeah, I am
7
Dory.
seconds.
Yeah, I'll have to go to like what are those people that?
The hypnotic therapy.
Yeah, I have to go to hypnosis just to know what the hell we argued about yesterday.
Sure. But so for those of you who are watching,
Every day's Groundhog's Day.
oh, dude, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I've watched that movie so many times.
I have that life.
But anyways, so for anybody who is watching right now and hasn't caught the other two, I strongly suggest you do that because between the 3 of them, will give you, like I said, the blueprint. That is the 4 truths and the Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
If you go into a specific religion, be it Christianity or anything else, any of the other Abrahamic religions, they all kind of say very similar stuff.
Abrahamic.
Yeah, that's not a big word, dude. That's Abraham and his thing, Abrahamic.
Nobody uses that word. Go ahead.
Anyways, so. But anyways, any of the major religions, any of the major traditions, they're all kind of have very similar concepts. So what I suggest is find the one that speaks to you and do your best to implement that in your life. You know, like for me, this one spoke to me because I felt that this one, the onus was on me, not on some other entity or some other book or whatever. It was on me and how I interpreted things, how I proceeded once I interpreted it.
I do like the confessional aspect, though.
What's that?
I gotta admit, I was raised Catholic. I do like that whole confessional aspect where you can go into somewhere
and then you're good to go afterwards.
Yeah, I kind of like that cleansing.
Bless you, you're good.
Absolutely,
Sure.
I kind of like that. That's you gotta
doesn't
admit.
Catholicism make you guilty about everything though, all the time? Like,
Yeah, but you can let it go. No. Everybody does. Everybody, even this does, if you really look at it. Because if I say, I was bad, no, you were unskillful. I mean, everyone will make you feel guilty about not saying it right, viewing it right, looking at it right. So everything has that edge to it.
Right.
But the thing is that at least you get to go into a little room, say it, and you come out completely cleansed. You're good.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can see how that can be liberating if you prescribe to that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, so every single belief, I'm sure, has that component.
Yeah.
Where mi pecado, mi gran pecado, and then it's done.
Right.
Well,
I think at the end of the day, this series, if you will, I think was more of a testament to spirituality as a whole, as opposed to this specific version of spirituality.
Yeah.
And that really boils down to, and I can't believe I'm about to say this.
Well,
I mean, I can, because where I'm at now, but had you spoken to me 10, 15 years ago and said this is about to come out of my mouth, I'd call you crazy. I'm going to venture to say you cannot do it without some sense of spirituality. If you're looking to be successful in this world, and when I say successful, I mean internally happy and peaceful, and like just I'm good, I don't think you can do it without some version of spirituality. I just don't. What that version is up to each individual person, but without some sort of a belief in something bigger than yourself, without some sort of guide, if you will, I don't think you're going to find success the way that we want. I just don't.
I personally think everything is spiritually driven, so I think it's impossible. I think even if you deny it, it still is, because my belief is that you're a spiritual being anyway, so everything that you come up with or think of, I think that's part of the deal. Now, whether you choose to acknowledge it, call it something, give somebody credit, give something credit, it doesn't matter. It's still, in essence, because you exist, spiritual.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, because I say that because I know for myself, there was a time where I was very anti-religion, very anti-spirituality.
Yeah,
just the words, I was like, get out of here with that. That's for weak people, that kind of stuff. Right. And even now, like I speak to the youths of the world, and sometimes I hear their responses, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want that, and I don't need that." I'm like, "Yeah, you do. You do. You might not know it. You might not be willing to admit it, but you do." And so I think the earlier in our lives, or even in problems, the earlier that we can acknowledge that we do need spirituality and just accept that, like, I do need it, then I think it makes things easier. Because then the goal isn't to, let me find a way to figure this out on my own. It's which spirituality speaks to me the most.
Right.
And that's an easier search, I think, is to try to find one that speaks to you as opposed to admitting you need it at all.
Well, I mean, the people that tend, in my life, the people that I've met that have screamed that they don't need it or it doesn't work for them the loudest are people that are in the most dire strait.
Yeah, those that need it the most.
Right. So it's like, well, there's a correlation maybe here.
Yeah.
That maybe, just maybe, that's the missing thing. You seem to have everything else. Right, because I've tried everything else, or I've done everything else. Right? It's like, well, that might be the missing link.
Well, what would be the worst that could happen for you if you decide, if you think spirituality,
you might become one of those people.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But you know
that's
what?
That's
if
what
that
I'm saying.
makes
That's
you
the
happy,
worst.
then take it.
What?
You know what I mean?
You might be one of those people.
Yeah. And if you're happy, who cares?
So what?
So
I've always wondered what it would be like if I become one of those people.
I don't know.
It'd be interesting.
Well, I guess I would be what I would have considered 10 years ago to be one of those people.
You did become one of those people,
I would
didn't
say,
you?
maybe. It depends on what those people are.
You didn't, you Trinity. You're one of those people now.
You know what? I'm cool with that.
Yeah. You gonna go do Reiki after this?
Wow, no,
thing?
I will not.
Okay.
And I don't have any crystals either, or essential oils or any of the other things you want to throw out.
Are you talking smack?
Yes, but anyways, so
you just offended
probably half of them.
Yeah.
either way, I think that I'm glad we did these though. To be honest with you, because I know there's a lot of you guys out there who, you know, one of the things that I like about this show and why we're doing it, to be honest with you, is when I was first trying to find my way in the spiritual realm, if you will, it was hard for me because I didn't feel like I related to people. Like I didn't want to become like this religious zealot kind of guy. I didn't want to be that guy.
Realm and zealot, they might make my list.
I didn't want to be that guy. And so for me, and then when I looked into spirituality as a whole, it was it's very interesting what you come across when you start looking up generics. But even with this particular tradition, I would find people who were just didn't speak my language. You know, they would talk about the universe, and just when they would talk, I'd be like, dude, I have nothing in common with you. Or they would come out in like robes, like a monk, and I'm like,
sure.
And so one of the hardest things for me, and then when I've been doing groups and everything else, one of the things I'm realizing that was also hard for others is it's one thing to read these things and even watch these videos and stuff, but all that teaches you is the fundamentals, but how do you apply it? Like, how do I do it? Like, you know, that's great. That's an awesome thing you just told me. But when I'm sitting at home later on and somebody pisses me off, like, what do I do? Like, what are the steps that I take? What do I physically do that's going to help me find my inner peace? Like, you know, cut the shit and tell me what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think that we're trying to do here is like, look, man, here's a blueprint. This is how you do it.
Right.
You know, like you said, it's simple, but it's not easy. Like, we try to simplify it to where it's not a complicated, like, rocket science thing to do. But make no mistake, it's hard.
Right.
Like, we're going against our very instincts as human beings to survive. But the problem is that things that make it easy to survive also make it very uncomfortable to find happiness. Those things are kind of different. We've all survived. If you're watching this, you've survived. Congratulations.
You've done pretty good.
But not everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And so the things that help you survive aren't always good at happiness. Things like taking things personal and fear and avoidance and all that. Yeah, you're going to live, but you might not be happy. And
and if somebody's looking at you, pointing at you, and saying you're the cause of your own suffering, causes you to reevaluate, even if it's just to argue it,
right?
Even if your own reasoning to evaluate yourself is just to argue the point that damn it, the Dharma Guy said I'm the cause to my own suffering, and you sit there and just take a real serious look at it.
Yeah.
What might you might gain something from that, taking that personal inventory.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was my thing, right? I had to stop myself. It was like, dude, there's got to be a better way.
Because that of all the things that you've said, of all of these, that's the one that I think at least goes in your face the hardest.
Because you cause your own suffering.
That you cause your own suffering.
That's the one that starts the most argument.
That's the one that commands your brain to figure out, am I getting defensive here? Am I going to get defensive on this, or am I going to fight this, or what?
I've had those uncomfortable conversations where people would be like, well, what do you mean I caused my own suffering? And they would give me some horrific scenario, and I'd say, yeah, that's painful, but that's not the suffering.
Right.
The pain, you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
Like, I can help you find the end of suffering. I can absolutely do that, but anybody, including myself, that ever tells you that they can help you get rid of the pain, they're lying to you. Run for the hills, because nobody can do that. If you're alive, pain's going to happen, dude. It's stop thinking it's not. Pain is going to, before this day is out, you and I both are going to experience more pain. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So anybody who comes to you and they're lying, run away.
Well, it's because they're always going to say, well, it does, but it doesn't have to be. Well, maybe not in this very moment, but 5 minutes, you will in some, maybe not in this specific scenario. It didn't have to be.
Yeah.
But it was going to happen somewhere.
So the pain is going to be
since
there.
it did happen, what are you going to do about it? Because here it is.
And that would be the suffering.
Because here it is.
And that I can help you with. I can help with suffering. You don't have to be. You don't have to live in that and have it like consume you and ruin your everyday. And you don't have to do that. That is the third truth. Is you don't have to.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you're feeling that you're struggling and life has just got it out for you, and your friends and your family just don't understand you, and you're wrong.
Yeah.
You don't have to live that way. Like, there is another way, and I'm living proof. He's living proof. I can bring out a whole bunch of other people I know who I've personally seen. There's people listening right now that I'm looking at that have been personally touched by this exact philosophy.
Right. Richard Gere.
Yeah, Richard Gere, man.
I like Richard
We're gonna try to get him on. I'm telling you.
I like Richard Gere. So before you start closing up,
oh crap! Yeah,
I had the word caveat from last time that I forgot to throw back at you.
Oh Jesus!
So here are your words that I need you to put in a sentence that you've said today.
Oh man!
Caveat, dependent origination, Abrahamic, and Zealot.
Okay, let me. I'm a visual guy, so I got to see it in front of me.
Yeah, my writing sucks.
That's
There it
okay.
is.
I'll figure it out.
There you go.
Let me see.
All right.
Caveat: dependent origination, Abrahamic, and Zealot. This is not really that bad.
No. I think you should be able to do it.
Play
Play along if you wish, kids.
I'm gonna try to wrap it all together with one of the things we talked about.
Okay,
today.
go ahead.
So I'm gonna say one of the caveats of this spiritual tradition is to understand how dependent origination can help you not be a zealot of your Abrahamic religions. Bam. Mindfulness. I even threw it. See how I tied it together like that?
I love it.
All right.
And with that, I am turning off my microphone. Goodbye, everybody. I'll see you next time.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So we got like another minute or two here. First and foremost, I don't know if I have too many tips today other than just the tip I will say is, I'm going to make them up as I go. How about that? Number one, for the tips I'm going to say is you can't do it without spirituality. You just can't. And anybody wants to argue with that, by all means, message me and we'll have that debate. Because I'm going to tell you, in some form or fashion, you're going to have some form of spirituality in your life if you're going to achieve true inner peace and inner happiness. The second one I will say is find whatever that spirituality is for yourself. Don't just completely shut that area off of your life and say it doesn't work, it's not for you. Maybe you just haven't found the one that interests you or the one that speaks to you the most. So dedicate some time to read and invest in yourself in finding whatever that spirituality is. And then the third tip I'm going to say is once you have found one that does speak to you, invest your time into it, because investing your time into that is actually investing your time into yourself. So find the one that speaks to you and invest some time to really find ways of incorporating that into your daily life and your daily decision making. And then at the end of it, you'll start to notice that you'll gravitate more towards peace and happiness than you do other emotional states. So I think that's all I got. Now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.